Okay, this is going to be a quick video, and it's not probably going to be quick. So, I'm just going to do a review of these fountain pens that I have. If anyone's thinking of buying any that I have, maybe hopefully you'll find some point of this video relevant to what you're looking for. So, as you can tell, these aren't like a grade or specific pins. These are just pins that I've come across and that I like. They're now right away. I'm going to tell you I'm not doing anything specific, just showing which ones I have. But I'm left-handed, so these are pretty much going to be mostly fine point. I don't do calligraphy. I like using fountain pens because they write really thin and I can write really small, and I write overhand, you'll see, and so that allows it to kind of dry in the seconds that it has. Before I go over it, that said, it doesn't really, anyone who writes knows how to write, right? So like I know no matter what I use, I can give it time if I have to, but these are what I like, so they're mostly going to be fine, extra fine, I think medium nib, maybe in 1 or 2, 3. So we'll get right into it. I just wanted to compare some of these. I recently bought this Muji pen a few days ago and thought I wanted to do a review on it, but I need some time, and then today I just decided I'd do a video on the ones I have, and maybe I just have 3 different types of papers, so I'm just gonna run some lines on these pens and see how they show up, and maybe even run a brush over them to see if they're water soluble. But that said, I do have cartridges in some and in different cartridges. Like I have an assortment. Some have brand cartridge, some have random ink that I have, or different types of ink. So we'll talk about that as I go along. So first one's gonna be this fountain pen. It's a travel fountain pen. I don't remember where I got this. Probably it's not a main brand. I think I got it on Amazon or eBay, and I have a few of these. I like give these away. It's okay. The weight is a little top heavy, but it is sturdy, and the nib is an iridium point nib. So it could be made by Schmidt, but it just says iridium point. If I can get a good view on that, I'm using an old phone, so sorry for the sound and quality, but it is what it is. Okay, so these lines, this is going to be like a medium nib, so we'll do some line variation. I can already tell I'm going to take too long doing this, but so for this I'm just going to write gold pen, even though there's another gold pen, but I'll write Jinhao for that one, I think, anyway, and I'll write iridium point. Okay, so that's how this looks in sketch paper. This is 90 pound, 80 pound, 60 pound Strathmore sketch, and I mean I've done like stuff on here that like you paint on, and it comes out just fine. Weird stuff on here, but anyway, so we'll see bleed through after all this stuff, I guess, but just gonna do this paper, then this one, and this one, I guess, rather than all at the same time. And this is a Rotring art pen. I like this pen. In this pen I do have an old type of Parker blue cleaning ink. I hope it's by Parker. Oh no, I lied. This is an amazing pen. I really like this pen. I don't use it a lot, only because the body's plastic, and I've broken so many of these types of plastic bodies when these barrels are here plastic. They crack just because I bend my knees a lot, or my legs a lot, and these break in my pocket. So this is my second or third of this exact pin, but I generally don't, like, I have a lot of tapered pins, and I generally don't put them in my pocket anymore. But they do write really well, and this does have like really great ergonomics. Like, even though it looks how it looks, pretty basic, it just fits in my hand really well. Like I said, I'm a lefty, so I do write differently, but from what I like, I can really do really thin lines and really pretty good thick lines. So, and I think in this, I might just have a cartridge in this. Oh, no, no. Okay, so what I have in here is fountain pen Higgins India ink. So, nothing that major, nothing that great. And this is a Rotring extra fine nib. Rotring. It's so hard to get this in focus. I really don't know how I'm looking at this anyway, but there's that EF right here on the left. So that's extra fine. And up next, here's another one. This has a cartridge in it. I know that because I just put the cartridge in it. So, not sure the brand of cartridge that I have in here, but this is an iridium point as well, I believe. No, wait, this is Genhao. This is an 18 karat gold plated nib. So it might be a little more flexible, a little more bolder if it'll write. Just got to get some ink through. I might skip this because I'm pressed for time, but hold on. This generally writes really well though for me, so I wanted to review it, but I just put the cartridge in, so I didn't think about that. But I wanted to compare this nib because it is a medium-sized nib. Oh, you know what? I actually probably need to clean this nib. So you know what? I'm gonna scratch that. I have another. I'll bring another fountain pen in. Bam! Look at that. We have a Lamy Joy. Look at that. Okay. So in comes Lamy Joy. This nib is an extra fine nib. So this nib I found at a craft store for 50 cents, and it's originally like $15 on Amazon. When I bought this, I bought a few other things at the store, and I actually left the nib on the counter. So I called when I got home. I like panicked. I was like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "Hey, I just bought a nib there," and they were like, "Yeah, we have it." So they were like, "Just come by whenever." But I was in a hurry. I had to do things, so I ended up having to take a scooter there. I was pressed for time. That's what I'm saying, and I got it. But by the time I got home, I looked at the price of my scooter, and it was like $11 or $12. So I still saved $1 maybe, even though I lost all the time. But it was a good day. So this Lamy's pretty great. I write really small, so I generally write like this, and or like hello. Um, I don't know. I like this pen, and so and I write like this, as you can tell. So as I am overhand writer, I guess. So um, the line variation on this is amazing, and the ink that I have in here. It's gonna sound crazy because I have two of the same ink in one of these pens, but the ink here, I don't know if it's because it's aged differently or longer in this pen, but this I believe is also either Parker ink or Higgins ink, and it is a little more waterproof. I've had other tests done with this with water. I don't know if it's in another video or not, but I can always do that in a video. But you can see more of the line when I run a brush over this. As opposed to other pens like this one where I can lose the entire line if I keep running the brush over this water-soluble ink. All the ink that I have is water-soluble, and these don't have carbon ink, actually except for one, so I'll make a note of that, my bad. But I also just got this, like I said, which is kind of the point of this review. So I want to run a brush over this to see if it's water soluble as well, because it does have a Muji cartridge. So, and I think this is just what I'm gonna use, and then I'll run water on this paper. So I'm going to actually really quickly start that because I realized this might be a better idea. So, alright, rot ring, and then I'll do some lines here, so that I'll run a brush over that. And I'll let the ink dry. I know, so when you run a brush over ink, when it's wet and when it's dry, it is different. So I did a video over that, so I'm not going to do one this time. But I do want to do it again, just to have notes on this paper. Since this is water color paper, I can hold on to this. Okay. And this Lamy is really great. It has a triangle. I write like this, and as you can see, like I've made it just kind of a triangle, so I like that. A lot of people, though, depending on the angle that you like to write, it might either work or not. I make it work. I think a lot of people do with their pens. Like, it's not that angle. It's not perfect, but it is what it is. The Lamy this pen will either be perfect for you or pretty good. Pretty great, and it's pretty great. It's not perfect. The rot ring is better, even though it's round, because it just fits. But I do have another pen that has triangle as well, and I like it, and it's perfect for me. So, anyway, so next we have this Petite Pilot. Now everybody, of course, says that you can turn this into an eyedropper. I do use the original cartridges in here. I might fill it with some carbon, but I might just keep the original cartridge and just use a syringe on it, because I have a lot of these cartridges. I have a lot of bottled ink. So I'm trying to show the nib, but this is a Pilot fine point, Pilot fine point nib. See if I can get this back in this corner. This seems to be the sweet spot for showing shiny metallic surfaces. So yeah, there we go. Okay, anyway. And I like this pen as well. It's really great. It writes pretty amazing. I keep this in my pocket, or I kept it in my pocket probably longer than other fountain pens, except for the zebra pens when I was younger. So I gotta say, I almost thought about just buying a backup, but since there's a lot of stores that sell this here around this area, I don't really have to worry too much about needing one if I lose this or break it or give it away. But yeah, this is a great pen. This one writes a little wet. I didn't mention that. The others, the gold pen also can write wet depending on the ink, not depending on the nib. Some pens write wet, I think, no matter what. But this Petite also writes a little bit wet, not too much, but a little bit. This isn't a fountain pen. This is a stylo, but I've used these pens a lot as well. I think in high school, this was the only pen I used. It spat out, but I really liked it. The nib here wears out, but what I like about it being a left-handed, I push into paper, so it eventually wore out to where it felt really good for me. And this was also water soluble, and you can make really thin lines. You can make thicker lines, just depending. But as you can tell, this is like, it's just different. It's like it's not a felt tip, it's not a marker, but I treat it like a fountain pen in a way. I have to. They don't last too long, but I thought I should just include it anyway. So this is a stylo. And like I said, this is old. Like, it's probably done with. But it's really great when you first get these and they're water soluble. But I'll prove that here. So, yeah, this video is going to be long. Oh well. I think all my videos are long. Okay, so here's the Petite. I think this is a Petite 1. The number is like the type of pen that it is. So like a 2, I think, is like ballpoint, and a 3 is like, I don't know, felt nib. Some, they're all different, but the 1 is what you want. This is great, by the way. If you can get any of these, get it. Okay, this is a great one, the Kakuno, pretty popular. I was at a stationery store and I got to compare this with a lot of other pens, Pilot pens, other ones, and like the Metropolitan and other, and Lamy Safari was there, and what else? Coeco was there, all these other brands, and this was with the same group of pins in a cup to test them, and I gotta say, no difference. So anyone can get a Kakuno. I gotta say, get this one. Fine or extra fine. I like extra fine, but this is a fine point. The way it keeps the lines, even though it's water soluble, is one of my favorites, next to another pen. But for $10 to $15, you can't go wrong with this one. They have lavender, the tops, they have all different colors, red tops, black bodies, clear bodies, white bodies with purple caps, blue caps, red caps. Just amazing variation. I saw this and just had to get it. I think when I got this, it was like 12, and now it's like 14, and you can find them for $10. So if you can find this, I would just get one of these no matter what. And this does have the original ink in it, but it's pretty badass. So yeah. This is the Muji. This one was more expensive in the store than it is on Amazon from the store. The body, listen, it's almost like hollow. It's very brushed. It's very nice. Grip's very nice. I like to grip where the pen either tapers down because I hold tight, or it's got to be straight. But any other rigidness, or if it's thicker top on the bottom than the top, I'm not a big fan of. Just depends on the ergonomics of the pen. Anyway, this one is very solid. It's very sleek. It's very chic. And the cool thing about it is that it has a gap in the front and the top for the cap to fit really good. So the cap's on. It's not going away. It's not loose at all. And I think the pen top itself, this is like aluminum. So it comes out and all this goes inside the pen body through that gap there. So over time, I don't know if it's going to be hard to clean if I keep this in my pocket even now, but I don't have dirty pockets, so just keep your clothes clean. But this is also an iridium point. It's a very nice looking nib. And the nib is like soft. So this is a Schmidt nib. And this one writes really wet, so very fast. Look at that. Super wet. Like if I take my time, how thick that line is compared to the rest. Just bold. That said, I can make kind of fine lines. They're not going to be as fine as, the Stylo, the Petite, even the Rotring, or the Lamy, but they're as fine as the gold pen that I have also with an iridium point. So I would consider this nib to be a medium to fine. I would say fine, but these lines are pretty bold, and it's really wet. And you can even see the reflection. Well, it dried pretty well. This paper absorbed, but yeah, I don't know if over time it would get worse, stay the same or not, but I think this is great. This is great that it's wet, because if sometimes I like to paint, and it's just like, if with watercolor or gouache, I just don't get enough definition when I'm sketching, so I need to put some lines in there. And because this is wet, I don't have to worry about going over, scratching, or I can just know that every line I put over this, no regardless of whatever ink or paint, it's gonna go right over all of that, just so fast, smooth, and easily. So, and I don't know if this is water soluble, so I'm excited to see if it is, how it is, if it is. So I misspelled that really wrong, so I'll do better here. So I'm going to make some space to bring that water down. So do Muji here and create some lines here. Okay. And then we can demonstrate how much of this cap goes into the body. Pretty much all of that rivet there, and just fits snug. Sorry, let me get this pin out of my hand. I don't know why I still have the style in my hand, but oh, it's because I didn't put that in. But anyway, so what the fuck? Oh, sorry, well, it's going in pretty easily. I'll just kind of, there we go. So you're not going to lose the cap at all. This has the nib or the cartridge that it came with. It's also aluminum aluminum parts in here. I can't even talk right now. Been up since 3 in the morning, and because it's aluminum and it has aluminum parts, I'm hoping to have this as my everyday carry. But you can't go wrong with this as an everyday carry. This is such a great pen. Okay, this is a platinum carbon ink pen. This is waterproof. This is amazing. This is fine point, but it doesn't say fine. It just has a platinum logo. The pens that are made now don't look like this. I think they have like different tip now, and also the other even newer ones don't have this. And so I don't need to say much about this pen, besides you can't get finer lines than a platinum pen. This is probably one of my favorite pens, even though I'm like can't spell right now. And I have carbon ink inside here, so I will not need to do a swatch here, but I'm going to anyway. Oh my gosh, my stylus dried up, so it's all good. It's just an excuse to buy another one. The stylo, a zebra fountain, these pens dry up on me before I ever really use up all the ink. Some of these pens do that, so the reason I have the pens that I do now is because they don't really, a lot of them don't really dry out for me, and the nibs don't break or wear down as much. So that's why I like the ones that I have. Okay, I don't need to say much about platinum. There's tons of information about this. Like this, you can buy the newer or different variation of this one for 10. Just get that too. That's a must, just to have. This is like a demonstrator pen, I guess, kind of. It's not a. It's just a. I have a converter in here. I don't know. It's not filled up like an eye drop, but it works really well. The nib says Wings Extra Fine on it. And there we go. Don't look at my tattoo. Okay, I'm spending so much time trying to get a nib in the camera that you can't see. There we go. I'll get better at this, maybe not. Yay, I like this. This is super quality extra fine. It is very fine, and I like the way I have a Parker blue ink in this, and the blue ink is a very kind of a, well, it's like a hard to find ink now, but it's very good ink because it has stuff in it that actually cleans your ink. I'm actually running out of it. They don't sell it anymore, so I would have to be lucky to find it again, but I can't stop using it. I keep going through these. I literally am going to run out of it soon. And I told myself like a year ago not to waste it, but let's see how it looks. I might have used it up actually, because it usually always works. So let's see. Now I'm wondering if that's what made me use to switch pens, but I think I can get a little bit of life in here. I might have used it all up. Should have came better prepared, but I have too many pens anyway, so. They didn't make it this round. They didn't make it. Well, I have this in another review, so I'll fill it up later, but I'm planning to use it for a while, so we'll skip to this. This is a Preppy. This Preppy, I wanted to put black ink in it. I still might. It does have a platinum nib, and it says say 0.03 on it. People say it's really good. It was okay. I gotta be honest. It kind of reminds me of the Zebra Pilot, which is okay. I've always used that fountain pen. I think my mom bought me a Zebra fountain pen, the Zebra one, when I was a kid, and I think I've always used that one too. That's the most used pen I've had ever, besides those RSVP pens. But throughout most of my life, even high school, after high school, so they're really bad at being scratchy and skipping. And like as you can tell here, this is like no different. It writes. It feels just like the Zebra. So it just has that same attitude. It's strange, and I'm thinking and hoping that whenever I change the cartridge in here to something better, that it will write better too. Maybe a better ink will flow better. So my goal was to like use up this ink. It doesn't take long to use a cartridge of ink, a few days of drawing. But the problem is it's so fucking hard to get the ink out. And like you'll start, like I said, like look, it looks like, oh, I got it right, easy peasy, and then scratches again. And you think it's the paper, but it's not. So even though that says platinum, I'm gonna write Preppy here. So it's pretty great when it works. But like I'm a lefty, so I can break this nib in by using it, pushing. So I'm excited to see if this breaks in at all. I think it will. Steel nib. So, but like, yeah, it's a little bit ridiculous. And like, you know, it looks weird that I shake it like that, but obviously, like, that's what I gotta do. Some pens, you know, if a wet pen would do that, you're gonna see ink, but obviously this is not a wet pen. So I can't wait to, my plan is to also just refill this cartridge, just because I don't really need to buy a converter. I might have a converter that fits. Oh no, I don't, it's Pilot. But like, look at this, this is huge. It holds a lot of ink, and I can see using this at least, goodness, 5 to 10 times maybe, with care. Okay, so those are my pens. I'm gonna run a brush through these and see how they look, they turn out. Do I even have a brush? I have this travel brush. This ought to do. Okay. So water. Okay. Get a point in my brush. There we go. And this is ink. So I'm gonna grab a napkin. Try to brush off some of that ink every time. But as you can see off of Strathmore paper, sorry, I also wanted to show, there's not really any bleed through, just except this gold pen. But this gold pen's a cheap pen. Like I said, I got these off like Amazon or eBay. I don't even know how much they cost, but I bought these to give away just because they look cute. And I've given a few of them away. And I think I still have another one. So this is water soluble rot ring ink. Look at that, the gradation in there. It's amazing for line and wash. Imagine doing a lighthouse like that. Drawing a lighthouse like, oh my god. The mood, right? Alright, the gold pen has a cartridge in there, but a lot of cartridges that they sell are water soluble so that they work with fountain pens. So I'm running over it pretty quickly. If I take too much time, I can tell that some of these the ink will completely just leave. So I just wanted to do like a smooth look with these rather than work my way and get all those lines out, because I think I can. I could have done more lines and shown that I can work it all the way. So look at that. Okay. Look at that. I mean, I can really work that ink through. Okay, so I'm gonna try to move this a little bit closer. No longer looking at everything at a distance. Next is the Lamy. And you see how I mentioned that the Lamy is like one of my favorite, and the Kakuno, but the Lamy is the best one at retaining the line while allowing a little bit of wash, very minimal amount of wash. And the Lamy is better. The more that the Lamy dries, the harder it is to get rid of those lines. So I like the Lamy because I feel like when you do ink and wash, the lines should be, in my opinion, based on what I'm doing, the lines are great for that. Like the gold pen would be great if I'm doing clouds though, so it's all subjective, but the Lamy is awesome because I can keep adding more ink or wash or even watercolor over this and don't have to worry. Look at that, it's amazing. The Petite is a little bit opposite. The Petite is very water soluble. I gotta like be careful. Look at the lines on that compared to the rest. That thing almost vanished. In the middle. But I mean, look at the color runoff. It comes all the way through, just like the Rotring. The reason I had to mention earlier is I have the same ink in a couple of pens, but they just come out different. I'm not sure which ones. So the Kakuno is amazing because look, I put so much water, but the Kakuno, like how I said, the Lamy retains those lines really well. Even when you compare it with the Petite, I do like the bluish tone of the Petite more than the Kakuno, but yeah, the Kakuno just has those lines. So they're amazing. That's why I like them all. They're pretty great. We're gonna do the Preppy. The Preppy is very water soluble because it is Pilot, and Pilot have very water soluble ink. They're trying to make sure their ink don't get clogged up. So I get it. I understand completely. But the best part about water soluble ink is that you can use good brushes. And not saying this is a good brush. It's a Field Artist Urban Series brush 6. I don't know if it's what it is. Looks to be probably real hair, but still. Look at that. Remember I said the Stylo is water soluble, but Stylo is a perfect example of like not great water soluble. The lines are gone. There's not really ink there. It pushes the ink up. Where like the Lamy doesn't push the ink up. You know, the Petite, it kind of like moves it, so it's kind of similar, but it's got all that color in it. I skipped the Platinum, but we'll do Platinum because it's not gonna do anything. That Platinum is amazing. It's carbon ink. So carbon ink is waterproof that you can put. So let's see this Muji. Water soluble. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. And you are. Whoa, look at that though. That's a unique little color that it came out from. Kind of a green tone. And maybe in this light, maybe when I turn the light, actually looks a little bit more. Still looks like a green tone. It's beautiful. The lines disappear pretty quickly. See if I can get all the line out since I'm going to be using this Muji, if I want to. See if I can get the lines here off completely. Let's get the lines on this side off completely. Should have grabbed that part of the end there, but that's okay. Look at that. So the Muji is good. Even when I scrub it, it's going to retain its line. I don't know how I feel about the color on it because it's like, compared to the rest, it's hard to tell because I have LEDs over here, and then I have other warm lights above me, and then I have a warm light behind me, and they're just different types of light bulbs, all of them. So, but if you can tell, this is like a green type of ink. I'm a little unfamiliar. I can't wait to use this ink up. It'll only take maybe a few days of drawing, which I have a few days to do, and then I'll probably put some. Then I'll definitely put a different ink in there, and then I'm trying to decide which one of these inks I'll put in there. I could put some carbon ink in there, and that way I can have the freedom of like a waterproof pen. Like I can't take my platinum around, because this platinum actually, unlike the other ones, is made with metal on it. But even though this is like metal, it's super thin, so I don't really trust it. Even though they don't make this pen, even though it's still cheap. This is gonna be my EDC. So I just wanted to review the pens, these fountain pens that I have, since I got my Muji, and make a chart, and that way I can look back and see which fountain pens I have and how they work and what I enjoy about them. And I definitely do like the color variations of all the pens that I have. I mean, the green is awesome. I honestly was going to buy an olive ink, and this Muji seems like if I wrote a whole paper in it, that it would give off that undertone when I write really small over a long period of reading. So we'll see. And the rest are great for ink and wash. I mean, the Rot Ring is so moody. The Preppy is great for sketching. It looks like sketching because it will look like it'll wash off completely if I paint over it. So this is great for that too. If any of these look cool with water that you like, pick one up. They're all pretty cheap. They're all roughly about $10 to $20. So yeah, thanks for watching.